politics. Is this a workable strategy for the Biden campaign with the assistance of their allies in the mainstream and social media? Or will they be forced to deal with issues that could hurt Joe Biden's chances for election? To begin with, I made an observation in the tease for this show that was incorrect. I stated that Biden would be hiding out for 4 of the 5 days before the debates. That was because I thought the debates were Wednesday night. I was wrong. They're Thursday night. So then make that he's hiding out 5 out of 6 days. Joe Biden has remained silent on questions about his knowledge of his son's Hunter's overseas business dealings, which were discussed in a series of emails purportedly found on a laptop belonging to his son. The New York Post had what appeared to be Hunter Biden's signature on the form where the laptop was dropped off in Delaware at the computer store, and a copy of an FBI subpoena where the agency took possession of the laptop in December of last year. The New York Post last week, on Wednesday, published a controversial set of emails related to Hunter Biden's work with the Ukrainian natural gas firm Burisma Holdings, as well as his work with a Chinese energy firm. While the Biden campaign has commented on the New York Post report, Joe Biden himself has not given a substantive answer to the emails. Biden, over the weekend, was asked about the Post report from a CBS News reporter, to which he denied or replied, quote, "I have no response. It's just another smear campaign," he said. One email, dated May 13, 2017, includes a discussion of remuneration packages for 6 people in a business deal with a Chinese energy firm. The firm appeared to identify Hunter Biden as the, quote, chair/vice chair, depending on the agreement with the CEFC, unquote, an apparent reference to the now bankrupt CEFC, China Energy Company. The email includes a note that, quote, Hunter has some office expectations he will elaborate. A proposed equity split referenced, quote, 20 for H and, quote, 10 to be held by H for the big guy, with no further details. Now, Fox News looked into this as well, and they investigated the particular email and spoke to one of the people who was copied on the email, who confirmed its authenticity. Other sources told Fox News that the big guy was a reference to the former president, Joe Biden. While Biden has not commented on that email or his alleged involvement with any deals with Chinese energy firm, his campaign said it released the former vice president's tax documents and returns, which show no involvement with Chinese investments. The campaign hopes this implication, that it isn't on the tax return, will serve as a denial, just as the alleged meeting with the Burisma official not being on Biden's official calendar can be viewed as a denial, because the date of the meeting, did happen to be 4 hours of free time that were not filled in. An email obtained by the New York Post last week revealed that an advisor of the Ukrainian natural gas firm Burisma Holdings, Vadim Przorsky, wrote an email to Hunter Biden on May 12, 2014, requesting advice on how he could use his, quote, influence to convey a message, end quote, to stop what the company considered to be, quote, politically motivated actions, unquote. It said, quote, we urgently need your advice on how you could use your influence to convey a message/signal, etc., to stop what we consider to be politically motivated actions, end quote, Przorsky wrote. The email appeared to be referencing the firm's founder, Mykola Zlochevsky, being under investigation. Another email revealed that then Vice President Biden, at his son's request, allegedly met with Przorsky in April of 2015 in Washington, D.C. The meeting was mentioned in an email of appreciation that Przorsky sent to Hunter Biden on April 17, 2015, a year after Hunter had taken his position on the board of Burisma, and a year prior to Biden pushing to have the Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin, who was investigating the founder of Burisma, removed from his post. Both the Obama administration and a number of Western European governments had also been pressuring Ukraine to remove Shokin over his failure to root out corruption with the former Soviet republic. Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to DC and giving me an opportunity to meet with your father and spend some time together. It's realty, an honor and a pleasure, the email read. But Biden's campaign spokesman, Andrew Bates, last week hit back against the New York Post story, saying, quote, investigations by the press during impeachment and even by two Republican-led Senate committees whose work was decried as not legitimate and political by a GOP colleague have all reached the same conclusion, that Joe Biden carried out official U.S. policy toward Ukraine and engaged in no wrongdoing. Trump administrative officials have attested to these facts under oath, end quote. Of course, neither of the Republican-led Senate committees apparently had access to these emails. Biden, prior to the email surfacing, repeatedly claimed that he's, quote, never spoken to my son about the overseas business dealings, unquote. Hunter Biden's business dealings and his role in the board of Burisma emerged during Trump's impeachment inquiry in 2019. And we now know, are we to believe what we're being told, that the FBI had access to this laptop with this information prior to the time that the impeachment took place. The Post reported that other material turned up on the laptop, including a video, which they described as allegedly showing Hunter Biden smoking crack while engaged in a sexual act with an unidentified woman, as well as other sexually explicit images. The FBI reportedly seized the computer and hard drive back in December of 2019. The shop owner, though, said he made a copy of the hard drive and later gave it to former Mayor Rudy Giuliani's lawyer, Robert Costello. The Post reported that the FBI referred questions about the hard drive and laptop to the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office, where a spokesman told the outlet that the office can neither confirm nor deny the existence of an investigation. A lawyer for Hunter Biden did not comment on the specifics, but instead told the Post that Giuliani, quote, had been pushing widely discredited conspiracy theories about the Biden family, openly relying on actors tied to Russian intelligence, end quote. Of course, this also does not actually constitute a denial, and attempts to wrap Russian intelligence into the story was the entire purpose. Meanwhile, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff, a Democrat in California, over the weekend described the emails as being part of a smear coming, quote, from the Kremlin. The press, apparently in unison, all declared that this was a Russian disinformation, as indicated by unnamed individuals who thought it was, quote, consistent, unquote, with Russian techniques. And after all, we all know that the Russians are trying to interfere in our election. It never occurred to the press that the easiest way to know if this was Russian disinformation would be to ask Joe Biden or Hunter Biden if the laptop belonged to Hunter or if these emails were valid. No, they never thought to do that. Well, except that CBS reporter who got laughed out of town by having asked a serious question about whether or not there was any concern about this investigation. And of course, the fact that Hunter's attorney sent a letter out demanding the laptop back was no proof at all that the laptop was Hunter's. The problem with these claims is that the Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, today denied that these emails were part of any Russian disinformation campaign. Quote, let me be clear. The intelligence community doesn't believe that because there is no intelligence that supports that, end quote, Ratcliffe said. Quote, and we have shared no intelligence with Adam Schiff or any member of Congress, unquote. Ratcliffe went on to say that it is simply not true and that the laptop is, quote, in the jurisdiction of the FBI, end quote. He said, the FBI had possession of this without commenting on any investigation that they may or may not have. Their investigation is not centered around Russian disinformation, and the intelligence community is not playing any role in respect to that, end quote. So, if the FBI admits that it has the laptop, that they are investigating it, and it has nothing to do with Russian disinformation, you would think the mainstream media would want to learn all they can. But no, they don't want you to know the facts about this because the Bidens can have murdered, stolen, and raped their way up to this point, but it is inappropriate for any member of the press to question them on this. Joe Biden is not expected to host or attend any public events until Thursday, the date of the final presidential debate, where President Biden is expected to bring up allegations stemming from the emails. Quote, if Kristen Walker, the moderator, doesn't bring it up, I think you're pretty safe to assume that the president will, unquote. This was a statement of Trump's campaign senior advisor, Jason Miller, on Monday on Fox Business's Maria Bartiromo's show? Again, these are real simple questions. We know the whole smear on Joe Biden comes from the Kremlin, Schiff said on CNN. That's been clear for over a year now, and they've been pushing this false narrative about the vice president and his son, end quote. Meanwhile, Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee is investigating Hunter Biden's emails, which reveal that he introduced his father, the former vice president, to a top executive at the Ukrainian natural gas firm Burisma Holdings in 2015. The major networks have chosen to use terms such as unsubstantiated to describe these emails, if they had even bothered to address them at all. And social media such as Twitter have tried to minimize posts about them and keep the public from seeing them as credible. Never mind that while there have been 65 instances of social media censoring the Trump campaign, there has not been one instance of the Biden campaign being censored. So will Biden be successful in this strategy? President Trump has been aggressive in his attacks on Joe Biden and the Biden crime family, as he's begun referring to them. He is referencing Biden as corrupt several times a day at every public forum he can fit it in, making possible for many people to hear about these emails and casting doubts on denials by the Biden team. Joe Biden's mental frailty, his position on packing the Supreme Court, and his son's Hunter's email are so bad, he and the campaign believe that they're better off hiding from the public than going out and campaigning during the final 2 weeks of the election. Let's talk about how outrageous it is for Biden that he is so smug and secure in his victory, so smug and secure that the national media will campaign on his behalf, that he thinks he can sit it out, hug the ball, run out the clock, while President Donald Trump is out there doing 2 to 3 events a day while still being president. There is nothing about how corrupt and evil the national political media and social media are that in any way will surprise me. Nothing. The media have embarrassed or have embraced political terrorism as their new strategy. And that is not a surprise either. The media is basically running Joe Biden's campaign against Donald Trump. And that clearly is no surprise. It appears that anything goes to win this race for Joe Biden. Expect no cooperation from the press on this matter. So Joe Biden is going to sit this one out, and no one in the media will criticize him. Who would have ever thought that Biden could make Hillary Clinton look like a workhorse? Biden thinks he can win this thing with TV ads and media coverage only. I mean, on top of making almost no campaign appearances, he has almost no ground game. No one's knocking on doors for Joe Biden. Biden is scared of being asked questions about his obvious desire to pack the Supreme Court with additional justices, which would mean the end of democracy. That's not hyperbole. If you appoint a bunch of unelected Democrats to the Supreme Court with lifetime tenure, that's the end of democracy. There's no turning the court back to be unaccountable to the legislature. Look at Venezuela and other third world countries which do these things as a matter of course. You see, if you intend to pack the court, it is better off to remain in hiding than to admit that. Then, of course, there's his son Hunter's emails. We pointed out to the point of payoffs from the Russians and the Chinese, among others, and that the Biden family has been willing to sell out the nation for a buck. And then there's also the dementia. Hey, the national media has been diagnosing Trump with all kinds of ailments without examining him. So it's just going to go ahead and tell you, I believe that Slow Joe is suffering from a form of dementia, that he is having what's called sundowners, and that he is in no shape to be president, for both he and his campaign know it. When you have dementia, you're better off hiding than campaigning. So, will the public fall for it? Many people have already voted, but I believe that the lion's share of those people that have already voted would not have changed their mind one way or the other if all this information had been made public. We're beginning to see the polls tighten, and they are tighter now than they were 4 years ago when Trump won. The Republicans have outregistered the Democrats over the last 4 years in the swing states and substantially improved their odds of winning again. And the polls show extremely wide Biden leads premised on the assumptions of a huge Democrat turnout, something that really hasn't been proven yet. While the numbers up front are tremendous, they appear that way for Republicans as well. And we may well find that voting on election day is substantially down from where it was 4 years ago. So can TV ads alone with no ground game and very few events and few people turn to a Biden victory? Well, we'll know soon enough. But the excitement of the crowds on multiple daily Trump rallies and the energy of Donald Trump himself leads me to believe that we will see a Trump win on election night. For the three things, I'm Gene.